Brilliance Audio presents After All by Heidi McLaughlin, performed by Carissa Vacker. Brooklyn thought she'd feel different as soon as the welcoming sign to Cape Harbor came into view. She anticipated a barrage of emotions to hit her as she neared the town line. She expected she'd have to stop, check her breathing, and remind herself why she was back. She had lost count of how many times she had tried to talk herself out of returning, unable to bring herself to get behind the wheel and drive north from her parents' Seattle home, until now. She would never turn her back on her family. It was the timing that bothered her the most, and that was what made her pull over. Even under the bright afternoon sun, the floodlights still illuminated the white and blue sign, and Brooklyn stood there, with a hood pulled over her head to hide herself from passing cars, looking at the name of the man who had changed her life. She was back for him, for his mother, and to face the past. Instead of heading straight to the Driftwood Inn, Brooklyn detoured and drove down 3rd Street. This was the only town she had ever lived in or visited that hadn't had a main street. It was such a random thing she picked up on when she and her parents moved here years ago. She never understood why until she learned that when the town incorporated, the people counted the streets up from the harbor, numbering instead of naming, with 1st Street being the closest to the water. Curiosity filled her. For years, she had not asked questions about her favorite spots, mostly to avoid the feeling of being homesick, but also so she could forget. The less she knew, the better. The less she longed to return, the easier it would be to create a new life. That was what she needed to do. Start over, put the past behind her, and move on. At the red light, she closed her eyes. It only took her seconds to tell Carly she would come back, even though, deep down, it wasn't what she wanted to do. Yet she owed the woman and could never tell her no. Brooklyn was content with the life she was living. She was one of the most sought-after home renovators, with homeowners paying her top dollar to come to them, to transform their visions into their dream homes. Her job afforded her many luxuries, except roots. She didn't rent a home, let alone own one. Each town became her stomping ground until the next job came in. She traveled thousands of miles back and forth across the country, leaving her mark everywhere she went. The honking horn startled her. Her eyes flung open and her foot automatically touched the gas before she slammed her foot back onto the brake, earning another long horn and probably a few choice words from the car behind her. She would never care about someone's overeagerness to punch the gas as soon as the light turned green. Her reasoning was asleep in the seat next to her, and she would never trust other drivers to stop at red lights. She watched the cross traffic before pulling into the intersection to continue down the road. The slow pace she kept allowed her to take in the sights. The storefronts were all familiar and decorated red, white, and blue for the upcoming holiday. People lingered on the sidewalks, talking to friends. Others wove through the foot traffic to get to their destinations. And then there were the tourists, stopping and taking pictures to capture their vacation memories, on benches in front of the whiskey barrels holding various colors of tulips and the statues of Lewis and Clark and Sacagawea.